Yo, what's going on, people? It's Curtis back with another investment video. If you don't know what to do because you're new, make that like button go blue and subscribe to the channel. Infinite Investors is about the stock market, about investing in general. The aim is to make things simple and help new and non-investors start building wealth for their future. So whether it's portfolio updates or stock market news or tips or reviews or any sort of general investment information, I hope you'll find some of it useful, hopefully all of it useful, and it can make you, better investors or actually even start investing. So today, the topic is women make better investors than men. Now, let me just get this out right off the bat. If you're a man watching this, don't hate, don't feel threatened. I'll explain why this is all true. I love to have evidence and data to back anything that I say. But most importantly, it's about what we can learn from the insights that I sort of share with you today. If you're a woman watching this, hopefully you'll see enough evidence as to why you should start investing if you're not already doing so, and how you have sort of natural tendencies that are advantageous to invest in. The beauty of the stock market is that you're not in competition with anyone. It's about advancing yourself. So don't look at this as a us versus them or as a men versus women thing, but just look at this as, this is what the data has shown rather, and what we can sort of learn from this. But where is this all coming from? So there's been multiple retrospective studies that have alluded to the fact that women make better investors. The first article I'm showing you here on Forbes, a study of 2,500 investors, only 20% of which were women. And this study was done by Warwick Business School, found that women outperformed men by 1.2%. In this article as well, there's also another study that was done by Cal Berkeley, and that showed that the investors that they sort of analyzed, women outperformed men by 0.94%. Now, I'll put the link in the description to this article. This article is actually about a woman called Geraldine Weiss. And Geraldine Weiss was an investor in, it could be Weiss or Weiss, sounds German. It's probably Weiss, but I'm going to say Weiss, but it's probably Weiss. Apologies if I'm wrong. But this article is about Geraldine. Let's call her Geraldine. She was an investor in the 60s who started a financial advice newsletter. But interestingly, she had to sign all of her articles as G. Weiss. So people didn't know she was a woman, because at the time, the climate at the time was that, women shouldn't really be working, or definitely not investing, and also definitely not advising people on what to do. And so she would have lost credibility had she sort of, come out confidently as a woman. So she had to sort of sign it as GY, so people thought it was a man. And it was very interesting that she beat the market year on year by about 10 or 15%. So the market was about 9% growth. She'd have sort of 11% growth. So she would actually, continuously beat the market, and she had a very, very strict criteria. And that's something I'll sort of share with you, later on in this video. Then I moved on to this article, which was a study by Fidelity. Now, they analyzed 8 million accounts that they had to try and sort of understand, who are the better performers in a different, variety of characteristics, etc. And they found that within the 8 million accounts, women outperformed men by 0.4%. Now, some of these figures might sound small, but actually they can be very, very significant, especially if you're talking about, accounts with 50, 100, 250, £1 million potentially accounts. So it can be very, very significant. One of the key attributes that they found was that women investing in stocks are more averse to risk, which is quite unsurprising. But I think it actually goes to show that, having a high risk approach necessarily doesn't pay off. Then I move on to this article. So, in this article, and actually it was actually cited in another article as well, there was a survey to all investors to, gain people's understanding or thoughts on who they felt better investors would be. And it sort of came out that only 9% of the respondents thought that women would be better than men. So 91% of individuals thought that men would be better investors than women. And it just goes to show how, perception can be so far removed from reality. But, I'll give you my reasons as to why I think the perception is there. I think, the stock market and, investments in general is quite male dominated in just the way it sort of comes across or communicates things. And so it's unsurprising that people would think that. I think if the survey came to me, I probably would be in that 91%. And I'll be honest, would have thought that men would have been better investors if I was asked, straight off the bat. So it's very, very interesting to sort of see, my own personal perceptions being sort of changed by this. This last article about by Nutmeg, why women are better investors, it cites many of the previous studies. One thing it also mentions is that women trade their stocks 9 times a year, whereas men trade their stocks about 13 times a year. So it shows that women are less active when they're making their trades. Men are sort of either chasing good money after bad, because potentially they see a drop, and so they want to try and make a new trade in order to mitigate that loss, etc. Or it's also because men are trying to gain more winnings by buying specific stocks, etc. Rather than sort of buying and holding a set piece and just letting that breathe and letting that perform. So I'll leave the links into all of these articles into the description. One thing it also mentions is that women avoid speculative high risk punts. They prefer to go for stocks with a decent track record. And it goes back to the Geraldine point where she lists out her strict investment criteria, some of which I can sort of find here, where it talks about Geraldine, she didn't buy stock unless it yielded more than its historical average dividend yield, and she required a minimum dividend growth rate of 10% over the past 12 years. She also wanted companies that traded at less than 20 times earnings with debt less than 50% of her market cap. Her list goes on. That is very, very excuse me. That is very, very telling that, having a very, very strict criteria, a strict way of, objectively analyzing stocks, not being caught up by hysteria, not being caught up by hype, can actually give you a measurable amount of growth in your portfolio. Now, in my own personal view, I think that the stock market is a very male-dominated and male-centric place. Even just little things like if you watch Bloomberg or CNBC, it's always a woman that's interviewing a male hedge fund manager or a male analyst. It's very, very rarely the other way around. And so I think there is this kind of, what word am I looking for? This is kind of aura, or I guess ecosystem, where it's about, men within these organizations dictating or analyzing or advising on what the right things to do or not to do is, etc., etc. And the beauty of the stock market is that, we're all wrong. We're always all going to be wrong. You can never predict what's going to happen. Anyone that, thinks they are a psychic in the stock market world, will, the truth will come to the light. They'll be sorely mistaken. So I'm not really here to unpick the reasons why it's male dominated. But I guess, the purpose of this video is to encourage, if you're a young woman watching this video and you felt that, the stock market isn't for you, it isn't a place where you think it's for women or where you can be successful. I just wanted to show some stats that actually prove that, women that have come before you have proven time and time again why they make better investors, and why, certain qualities that you naturally have, are more suitable, I guess, to the world of investing. If you're a man watching this, I personally, as a man, when I was reading all of these articles, what I wanted to sort of gain from this is a real strong understanding as to why women are better performers, and what I can learn from it to help become a better performer myself. So, the key things that I've taken away from this is that women trade less frequently by about 30%. I look back to my portfolio updates and I saw that Man Group wasn't performing. And because I was really, really disappointed in it, once it sort of started to perform, just sort of break even, I then sold. That is potentially, a trade that I shouldn't have had to made, and potentially I could have left it in the long term. Now, I felt it was the right decision, but maybe, it's those types of reactions that cause, women to potentially perform better. Women buy and hold for a lot longer than men do. So because women, I think, generally are more passive investors, and by passive what I mean is that, you select your stocks and then you sort of let it breathe and you let it run. Whereas men actively manage their trades a lot more. So that means, you're checking up on it more. You maybe make more trades. You maybe add more funds to a specific stock, if it's going up or down or whatever your sort of strategy is. So I think sometimes just, investing, treating it like it's almost a savings account and sort of letting it run its course potentially can be, a better and more lucrative strategy. One of the articles, it mentions that women diversify more. So, men will have this approach where they're looking for that killer stock, that one stock that's going to really sort of change everything. And, that has happened in previous times. It's not an irrational strategy, fully or entirely, because, Apple had a run where if you invested 10K within like 3 years, you would have made like 25 grand. Tesla is another one. Facebook was another one. Amazon is another one. There's a lot of stocks that have been, monumental in terms of their growth. So, it's very, very understandable why men might take this approach. But also, sometimes rather than just trying to find that killer stock, if you diversify against a much more broader set of stocks, and securities, it seems like actually, overall, that'll be a better bet going forward. In the articles, it talks about that women manage their emotions with shorter term price changes. So, similar to the thing I just mentioned with my own personal circumstance, you see a change as a man and you think, okay, you know what, I need to do something about this. I need to actively take control. And I think it's in a man's nature to want to take control and to want to sort of physically be in control of a situation and make sure that they can, affect the outcome. So I think, that natural male tendency, which, is very, very, required in certain circumstances, but maybe in investing, it's something that, as men, we should repress a little bit more. I don't know. But where women don't sort of take that approach, and they sort of let things ride its course, it's actually proved to be better in the long term. And overall, I think the key thing is that women take less risks, which result in more gains. I think men have a tendency to be more, to take more risk. Women have a tendency to be a bit more cautious, and that element of cautiousness actually bodes well when it comes to investing. So, there's a lot of qualities there that I'm going to potentially learn from and actually apply to sort of my trades and my investment decisions going forward. But yeah, get in the comments. Are women better investors than men? I mean, I've kind of proved the point with a lot of articles, but you might have your own theories or thoughts or things that weren't sort of shared within any of these articles or talked about in this video. So get in the comments. If you're a woman and you're new to investing, or you don't invest, let me know why you don't. What's the sort of barriers that make you feel like investing isn't for you? It'll be good to sort of hear from you and we could sort of chop it up. And yeah, get in the comments. Please like, please comment, please subscribe, share the video with your friends, and I'll catch you next time with another investment video. Happy investing.